Well, today is Friday, April 17th, 2026. And I decided, or I read something today that I found kind of inspiring and thought provoking for me. And I thought I would share it with you. It does come from the Center for Action and Contemplation, Richard Rohr's organization. And this particular one is written by Brian McLaren. And it's entitled An Inward Migration. And the CAC writes that Brian McLaren reflects on how contemplation and community enable him to live according to the values of the kingdom of God. And Brian writes, during my years as a news junkie, I found myself getting a strange high from the latest ugliness report. Each time I indulged, I fanned the flames of something unhealthy. My moral superiority, or resentment, or fear, or despair, or desolation, or us versus them hostilities. The internal realities we construct in our minds actually exist in our minds, ugly or beautiful, false or true. They shape our internal values, which influence our external behavior. We tend to make the world around us resemble the world within us. Based on our focus, ugliness is everywhere, or beauty abounds. Alexis Wright is an Aboriginal writer from Australia. As an Indigenous person, she understands that the end of the world has been happening for centuries for Indigenous people. She understands that both colonizers and colonized need to be liberated from the mindset of colonization. The first step toward freedom, she says, is to decolonize or decapitalize the mind so you can develop strengths that will not be defined by how others believe you should think. She calls this liberation sovereignty of mind. The journey to sovereignty of mind requires an inward migration, where we, in a sense, become refugees from our external nation, culture, economy, and civilization, even though we still live within its borders. We withdraw inwardly. When I heard Alexis Wright speak of this inward migration, I felt I gained a new insight into Jesus and his oft quoted but rarely understood term, kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is within you, he said, Luke chapter 17, verse 21. He described the innermost room of your consciousness, Matthew 6:6, where you go to think differently, to sort out your desires and hopes authentically. When you learn how to do that inward migration, that spiritual migration, you find yourself looking for others who have also gone there, who have discovered a freedom and sovereignty of mind. Jesus said, wherever two or three of you are gathered in my name, there I am. And we might understand him to say, listen, I understand that you are outnumbered. I understand that so many people around you have been sucked into the story of ugliness. I understand that you are learning to live by a different story where beauty abounds. You don't need me physically present to tell the beautiful story. You can tell it yourselves. Even just two or three of you can gather together, embodying my way of being in the world. You can be cells of resistance, outposts of transformation, seedbeds of beauty. That is the best future I can imagine for organized religion in these dangerous times. Instead of helping nostalgic people inhabit bubbles of the past, religious communities can help people go forward on this inward migration towards sovereignty of mind, where in defiance of a rising level of ugliness, people cultivate beauty, seeing it, creating it, savoring beauty within. Savoring beauty within will lead to beautiful outward action. Of course, lots of things went through my mind as I was reading this. And the first part, I think I've often said we find what we look for. And if we surround ourselves with certain news inputs, certain channels that play on our fears and our discontent and cultivate a sense of hopelessness, that's all we're going to see in the world, and that's what's going to be internal to us. And on the other hand, if we try to look for the beauty in the world and try to find those things that inspire us, internalize that and bring it to life, that's what we will see and find in the world, despite everything that's going on around us. So as he said, the internal realities we construct in our minds actually exist in our minds, ugly or beautiful, false or true, and they shape our internal values, which in turn influence our external behavior. So try to cultivate that which brings beauty into the world and helps us to find beauty and to be look for things to be grateful for in the world. And it takes effort because there is a great cultural influence on us to, especially in the capitalistic West, where we live in a culture of scarcity, to always look for what we're missing rather than seeing what we have. And it takes constant effort to change that way of thinking, to essentially, as Alexis Wright says, decolonize or decapitalize our mind, turning inward and opening our eyes to seeing what's really in the world. The other thing I was thinking about when I was reading this is the discussion about the kingdom of God being within you or around you or near you, as the Gospels often say. And the emphasis that is often put in Christian nationalism on salvation for the next life, saving souls for the next life, and totally ignoring how we're living in the world today. And that's also a way of I guess, brainwashing us to not work towards developing beauty and community and empathy in the world. Letting those in power and with wealth do whatever they want without any recourse or without thinking about how it impacts the everyday life of people. So thinking about the kingdom of God is within you, or the kingdom of God is near, is a focus on this life. And again, that takes intentional effort, I think, and turning inward and constantly working towards developing the good in the world rather than just being caught up in the fear and the sense of scarcity that people are trying to impose upon us. It takes a lot of effort, and you can learn to live by a different story where beauty abounds, and in order to do that, it takes an effort to look for it and to work on it and to be a cell of resistance or outpost of transformation or a seedbed of beauty, as this meditation says. One other thing that kind of struck me is at the very end, talking about organized religion, which is a real struggle. I struggle with organized religion too, especially with the onset of the power that Christian nationalism has seemed to gain recently. Because also what I've seen in some of the churches I've served and worked with is the nostalgic bubble people live in, thinking of the past. And I think we can get caught up in that when things seem so bad or filled with fear or a sense of scarcity, is we look back in the past with rose-colored glasses, and we inhabit those bubbles of the past, thinking somehow that they were better than what we are currently living in. And honestly, every time had its challenges and opportunities, and sometimes the challenges were worse for some people than others, and we tend to forget about the bad things that happen and just think about the good things that happened in the past. And when you get stuck in that bubble of the past, inhabiting that bubble of the past, you don't work towards creating a different kind of world today, being a source of transformation yourself in your own life. And that also is a struggle. It's something you have to work on every single day. Is yes, you can look on the past and look for the good things that happened, but you can't get stuck in that bubble of just inhabiting that past and longing for what was, but work on creating what could be. Savoring beauty within will lead to beautiful outward action. It's something we sorely need today. So those were my thoughts. Yours may be different from this meditation, but hope it gives you something to think about, and hope you spend some time turning inward and looking for the beauty in the world and helping others to see it, and planting seeds of hope and of beauty in the world, in your life and in your community, wherever you find yourself.